Dakota Christensen here for Rebel News. I'm currently standing in front of Parliament Hill. It is day 2 of the Freedom Convoy protest here in Ottawa, where thousands of truckers and supporters have come to the Capitol protesting against COVID restrictions and mandates. There are politicians on the scene here. I had the opportunity to interview Jim Karahalios, the co-founder of the New Blue Party of Ontario, moments ago. Go ahead and take a look at what Jim had to say. I'm here with Jim Karahalios, founder of the New Blue Party of Ontario. How you doing, Jim?
I'm great. Co-founder with my wife, Belinda, who's the MPP in the riding of Cambridge, and it's very good to be here in Ottawa supporting the truckers. We had to be here. The truckers have put this on the map, and we're here to let people know, as frustrated as they are with the federal mandates from Justin Trudeau, we got an election on June 2nd in Ontario, and Doug Ford and the Ontario PC Party really paved the way by putting in lockdowns and mandates at the provincial level long before Justin Trudeau did it federally, and they've got a nice chummy relationship, so we need a political party on the right of the political side to challenge Doug Ford on June 2nd. So that's what I'm doing here.
So we've spoken with you a few times at Rebel News, but I feel like a lot of our viewers may not really know who you are still. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you're trying to accomplish in Ontario right now?
Well, the Rebel's been covering us for a while now with our Axe the Carbon Tax campaign. The PCs have repeatedly gone after my family for standing up for taxpayers, standing against voter fraud, standing up to the lobbyists that control the establishment parties. My wife was the first Canadian politician and only Canadian politician to get kicked out of a governing party for voting against a piece of COVID-related legislation. She voted against Doug Ford's lockdown bill almost 2 years ago, Dakota, and she was the only current or former PC MPP to vote against it. Some of the other ones that are now speaking out voted in favor of it, and Doug Ford and his team kicked her out and kicked her entire riding association out, and the people across Ontario said, we need another option, and we started the New Blue Party.
And this is a very important topic right now. We do have a provincial election coming up. I believe it's scheduled for June, correct?
June 2nd.
June 2nd. And so with that coming up, I know a lot of people are feeling disenfranchised with the Ford PCs, but they also feel like, is there really a viable alternative? Is it more strategic, per se, to just, you know what, I would rather have Doug Ford than Del Duca with the Liberals or Andrea Horwath with the NDP? What would you say to those people who are worried about vote splitting and would still rather see Ford's PCs than the Liberals or the NDP? What would you say to them?
So there really is no vote split because the Ontario PC Party is an exact replica of the Liberal agenda, whether it's on fiscal policy. They were spending more on an annual basis and a greater deficit before COVID than the Liberals were. On social policy, they are the champions of the woke culture if you're looking at what they're doing, not necessarily what they're saying. And the people behind the scenes are all lobbyists and liberal ideologues, left-wing ideologues running the PC Party, the same people that are running the NDP and the Liberals. And no one in Ontario has tried harder to influence and make change inside the Ontario PC Party to represent the grassroots than my wife Belinda and I, and they've clamped down on all democracy. So they don't have elections anymore to choose their candidates, they don't have conventions to choose their executive. The only option, if you want to make a difference, start the New Blue Party of Ontario.
Okay. And so one other question I have for you. We not only have yourself with New Blue trying to start another sort of freedom movement politically, there's also Derek Sloan with the Ontario Party, Randy Hillier with the Ontario First. They're trying to step in here and provide alternatives. What sets you apart from them, and why should people be voting New Blue rather than going towards Randy Hillier or Derek Sloan, in your opinion?
So the difference between the New Blue Party and those other parties is that we actually have a political party. Randy Hillier's Ontario last party is done. It didn't get registered. He had a deadline of January 19th. He was saying he was going to register for 3 months, and he never registered it. And it was a real shame that he went and did that stunt, because Randy Hillier was the first guy I talked to about a political party in Ontario. And instead of having a conversation and starting something after Belinda voted against that lockdown bill, Randy decided to cut a deal with the PCs. So he's been trying to distract people. It looks like now he's focusing on federal politics here this weekend with Max and the PPC, and that's great. And they've got the federal side covered, and we've got the provincial side covered. Derek Sloan on his Ontario party, I guess they've named it the Ontario Party just in case Derek forgets he's not in Alberta anymore, but he's clearly said he's not running in the next election. Rick Nichols is not running in the next election, and Derek has said they're not running candidates in every riding. I could tell you starting a political party is a lot of work. We've been at it for a year and a half. We fought through a cancer diagnosis that I had, the same thing that Terry Fox was diagnosed with. I'm walking again. We've put together riding associations in 114 ridings. We've got thousands of members and donors, a constitution, a board, and now we're going to roll out candidates. Hundreds of people applied to run, and we're going to start rolling out our platform, and we actually have a political party, and those other guys, they really don't.
And so for this upcoming election in June, what are your best hopes for the New Blue Party? If everything goes as well as you could feasibly expect it to go, how does that look for you and Belinda and the New Blue Party of Ontario?
Our goal right now is to run candidates in every single riding. And we had our first candidate application deadline end just about a week and a half ago, and we thought we'd get a few candidates, and wow, it rolled in. And so we're going through the process now of reviewing and interviewing, selection process where we have ridings with more than one person applying. We've got a few ridings left where we're looking for candidates to apply. We're going to reopen the deadline, and the first goal is to get candidates in every riding. We're starting in Cambridge with Belinda. She's running again. I'll be running in a neighboring riding, and that's our first goal. And then we're going to put in the discourse and on the table for June 2nd issues that none of the establishment parties want to talk about. We're going to not only put forward ideas to end the lockdown and the mandates and the use of COVID vaccine passports, we're going to challenge the woke culture. We're going to challenge the irresponsible fiscal spending of the Doug Ford Ontario PCs. We're going to put forward proposals to clean up party politics in Ontario and get these lobbyists to check it at the door and stop twisting and corrupting the process. And we're going to put in a comprehensive platform, and our goal is to win as many seats as possible. That's the goal of a provincial party.
Fair enough. And so one final question for you here. We are standing in Ottawa right now, an historic united grassroots movement here coming to the capital. A lot of people are just starting to pay attention to this now and what's going on. For people who are looking to this and sort of feeling hopeful, wanting change, what message would you share for them and sort of the political landscape going on in Canada and Ontario right now?
Well, the truckers put this on the map globally, and we've got to keep it going with political options at the ballot box, because if the New Blue Party doesn't have candidates in every riding to run on June 2nd, all of this energy, all of this passion that we're seeing, peaceful protesting, if there's no political option, it just goes away. And on June 2nd, there won't be an option provincially. And so we've got to remember that we've got to fight federally and provincially with political options to channel this energy at the ballot box where we can make change. And that's what we're doing with the New Blue Party. And I was so happy with my New Blue team yesterday. The organizers had a little bit of trouble getting the speakers yesterday. There were no speakers and mics yesterday. The New Blue team got speakers and mics on the last minute. We put it on the flatbed. I got a chance to speak. Ezra got a chance to use the New Blue speakers and mics. It was great. Today they're a little bit more organized, and we hear speakers in the back, and the energy is incredible.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jim. Any other final thoughts you'd like to share?
Thank you, Dakota, and thank you, Rebel News, for covering. And June 2nd, newblueontario.com. Check it out.
If you appreciate our honest, independent coverage of political matters such as the upcoming Ontario election, make sure to go to realreporters.ca. You can see a lot of our political coverage, interviews with politicians and leaders and candidates, and you can please donate to help support our independent journalism and bringing you the other side of the story and keeping you informed when it comes to politics in Canada.